Good morning, everybody. Today I want to talk about rider's cues. It's raining outside, so what better time to discuss it? There are 5 ways to communicate with your horse: eyes, voice, body, hands, and legs. And I want to talk about each of these today. 80% should be your body, which is your eyes, your shoulders, and your hips. Riding with your seat and your eyes and your shoulders are so important, and it literally should be 80% of your riding. Where you look is where you go. Number one thing to remember. 18% should be with your legs from your knees down, so your calves and your feet. 2% should be your hands, and always using give and take. Sometimes you will use all 5 cues. Sometimes you may only use 1 or 2 cues. It just depends on the level of training with your horse you're on and the tasks that you're doing. So let's talk about eyes first. Where we look is where we go. Sorry, can't spell. So let's say we're on the barrel pattern. And when I'm lining up with the alleyway, I want to make sure that I'm lined up with third. Then I want to pick my arc, whether I'm a lefty or a righty, and that's going to vary from horse to horse. So when I take off, my focus is middle, then arc. As I approach, I'm thinking straight or longer, whether it's a lefty or a righty. You're looking in the hole, okay? So with that, I'm not going to hit a barrel because I'm looking at the tracks that I want to have, okay? And that's always going to be the most important thing you can do, is look where you want to go. Where do you look? You look between your horse's ears at the ground you want to go to. Just like when you drive a vehicle, you don't look at the sky or the trees, you look between the lines so that you stay between the lines and you don't run over anything crossing the road or hit a bump in the road, anything like that. So then when you get in the hole, spot 1 to 2, that's here, the entrance and the back side, you're going to start looking a quarter turn ahead. If you have a horse that hits barrels, you're going to want to pay attention to spot 3 so that you stay 4-wheel drive. On most horses, you can just look from spot 1 to 2 and then look up for your next barrel as soon as you get on the backside spot 2, except on second barrel. Because second barrel is a full turn, you don't want to look up till you're 3/4 of the way. So your pivot spot on third barrel and first barrel happens between spot 2 and 3, right there, between spot 2 and 3. But your pivot spot for second barrel happens all the way at spot 3. So lefties, you're just going to have to reverse this. This is based on a righty. So again, as you're going, you're looking in the hole past the barrel, and then you look at spot 2. On a regular horse that turns pretty honest and doesn't catch barrels leaving, a 4-wheel drive horse, you can just look up on the backside to come out nice and straight. But if you're on a rollback horse, make sure you look at spot 3 so they don't catch a barrel leaving. And this barrel, you definitely want to look at spot 3 if you have a rollback horse, okay? So eyes are super important. Always have that in mind. Do not look down their neck. Always look between their ears at the spot you want to go. Straight lines, you look straight or longer past the barrel. In the turns, 1/4 turn ahead. Spot 1 is the entrance. Spot 2 is the backside. Spot 3 is the exit. So that's the importance of eyes. Oops, let me erase this real fast. And then I'm going to talk about voice. I love to talk to my horses, okay? So I will say... All right, let me back this back up. I will say that's a pretty easy one. If I'm going to the alleyway, I'll say easy, good job or good girl or good boy, whatever, easy, good job. And, just be calm and confident. But in the pattern, I might say, whoa, here, and drive out. Or I'll say, hey, or here for rate and for turn, and then smooch and drive out. You can start driving your horse as quickly. So if this is first barrel, you might say whoa or here as you're approaching, or hey. You might say here as you're ready to turn. And then on the back side, as early as the back side, you could start smooching and drive them out to get that ultimate drive. So voice is pretty easy. They know the difference between your happy voice, when you say quit when they're bad, or good girl or good boy. They know the difference. So I like to talk to my horses because if I say it, I do it. And also, if I talk to my horses, I don't need to use as much hands because they're going to listen to my voice and my body. So those two go together very nicely. The next thing to consider is your body. This one's pretty easy. If you're in the saddle, your hips, heels, and feet should all be lined up if you're in a neutral position. You're going to love my stick people. If you want to rate or whoa, you're going to soften your ribs and shoulders and sit on your pockets more. And get that little bit of a, what I call barrel racer slump. And you don't have to lean terribly far back, but it does help to soften your shoulders and ribs into your hips and sit on your pocket. If you want to go a little faster, you can let your shoulders roll forward off of your inner thighs. You don't want to get way up over your horse's neck because then they can get front endy and then your legs will get behind you and your balance gets all messed up. So that's important as well. So body's pretty simple. That's for going in straight lines. So now let me draw if you're going into a turn. So if you're going into a turn, your body's straight going in, but let's say this is a barrel. I'm going to start letting my shoulders and hips turn a little bit, but then when I'm ready to pivot out, I'm going to let my inside hip and shoulder come way back, and that's going to get my horse to snap out tight. So remember, using your eyes to ride to your spots, turning your shoulders and hips a little gets them to start their turn. Turning to a lot of inside hip and shoulder gets them to snap out. That's very important, and you should practice that as well. So that's pretty much the three positions. You've got a go, a rate, a turn, and then actually there's kind of a fourth if you really need that tight snap. So yeah, this is a little bit of shoulder and hip. This is a lot of shoulder and hip, inside shoulder and hip, of course. And then your rate cue is going to be that slouching, letting your shoulders and ribs sit on your pockets more, soften your ribs into your hips. And then your go cue is just going to be that slightly sitting up a little bit, or even just rein hand forward, depending on the individual horse, and drive with your legs if you're on the push horse. So that is body. My cat's helping over here. All right, so let me erase this one. This video is going to take a lifetime to load up, I'm afraid. Hand cues. This is the one that gets everybody. So I think of it as 6 cues, okay? So this is my saddle horn. I want to stay in a box. Whoops, I'm going to need to draw that again. Hey, flower pot. Okay, so let's say this is my saddle horn. I want to stay in about a 6-inch box. I want to stay horn high. There's 3 things I never want to do. I don't want to pull over the barrel. I don't want to pull back to my thigh. And I certainly don't want to lift and cross my withers. So those are 3 things you don't want to do. Okay, when I'm riding 2 hands, this is going to be my go cue up here at the front of my box. This is going to be my rate cue or neutral cue. Those are the main 2 cues. And for rate, you might do a 2-hand bump. You might do a 1-hand bump. You may just, when you sit down, contact is enough. Everything should be give and take, never pulling. And then for your turn cue, it can be a couple of things. So if I'm going to turn left, I might bring my hand up and back an inch if I'm on a go horse. I might just bring my hand up an inch if I'm on a push horse. I may just do a little pinky twist where I twist my pinky under to let them know to shape or to start their turn. I may go flat knuckle on the push horse and keep my hand in the go position, flat knuckle, instead of these are all thumbs up with a pinky twist under. The flat knuckles is going to teach my horse to keep moving forward because I'm keeping it close to their mane, low and forward. So that's the left side. Same thing for the right side. You'll have your go cue. You can even shape with a pinky twist in the go cue. You can come back and up an inch, or you can just do a pinky twist under, or just go up an inch, depending on the horse. And you just have to kind of play around with it. Some horses do better with a 2-hand bump for rate. Some only need a 1-hand bump. Some don't need any bumping. Every horse is going to be different based on their style. So that's hands, and hands should always be give and take. So I hope that makes sense. That one is probably the one people struggle with the most. But remember, it's only 2%. Never pull, always give and take, and hand should always go with a body, voice, or leg cue. And of course, eyes are number 1. Where you look is where you go. Don't forget that. Okay. Some people look up too soon and cause a horse to hit a barrel. Some don't look up quick enough and cause a horse not to finish a turn. So eyes are so important. That's number 1. All right. The final thing we need to talk about is legs. Legs are pretty simple. Leg by the front cinch, controls the shoulder. Leg by the back cinch controls the hip. Leg kind of in the middle might be good for side passing to open a gate. So keep all those things in mind. A horse moves away from a leg. So if I want to roll back to the left, I want to take my left leg off when I put my right leg on. Open a door, close a door. If I want to roll back to the right, I want to put my left leg on and take my right leg off. And that's all by the front cinch. If I'm going to a barrel and their hip is out, the barrel's here, and they're not square, rather they're like this, I'll put my leg in the back cinch and I can put their hip back in. So that's important to be able to do too. You can teach all this stuff from a standstill. So I hope this is helpful. It's a little 10-minute video, but it will help you with remembering how important everything is to your horse. And again, on the 5 rider cues, sometimes you do it all together. Sometimes you do individuals. It just depends on the individual horse. There's my little Rocky. I guess the rain let up. He's like, come outside already, Mom. So anyways, I hope you all have an awesome day, awesome weekend, and I hope this is helpful. Thank you.